AT&T customers have had it on their hands for some time, but now T-Mobile customers get to get in on the fun. How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and this is the T-Mobile Samsung Galaxy Note. Is it worth buying, or maybe you should wait for the new Samsung Galaxy Note, the Note 2, which is rumored to be coming at IFA in Berlin later in the month? Is it worth waiting? Is it worth buying? We'll find out in PhoneDog's review, which starts right now. Save for the HSPA Plus connectivity and the nice little T-Mobile logo up there on the top, there's not a whole lot that's different from the T-Mobile variant of the Samsung Galaxy Note, other than the fact that it ships with Ice Cream Sandwich, also known as Android 4.0, out of the gate. The good news, the nation's fourth largest wireless carrier gets Samsung's phablet device, or tablet phone as I like to call it, tablet, smartphone, whatever you want to call it. And we are admittedly a couple of weeks out from what we assume will be the announcement of the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 in Berlin, which we will be on site to cover that, so stay tuned to PhoneDog.com for all that news as it breaks. But that's the assumption right now. But right now, T-Mobile customers, you can get the original Note. And let's look at it this way. I have a feeling the Galaxy Note 2, and I could be wrong, I've been wrong plenty of times in the past, I have a feeling the Galaxy Note 2 is going to take a while to get to the US, much like the Galaxy S2 and the other, some of the older T-Mobile, or some of the older Samsung, rather, devices. It may take a while to get to the States. I don't think it's going to be as coordinated of a rollout as the Galaxy S3 was, nor will it be across as many carriers. I think you may see this on a couple of carriers in the U.S. a few months after the actual international announcement, which is the one we're covering in Berlin. So if you're looking to buy this, you should be okay, but take advantage of that 14-day return policy. I would say buy maybe sometime between like the 18th and on, so you can take advantage of the return policy if you really want the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 and you're really happy with the way that it looks. But otherwise, special thanks to T-Mobile for hooking us up with a review unit, and special thanks to our friends at Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile to get the Note, any other device, you'll walk out working. It'll help you set up your email, your web, your contacts, your settings, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go at Best Buy Mobile. So the Galaxy Note, no real changes here in terms of the design. This is the blue one. They call it blue. It looks black to me, but hey, they call it blue. Otherwise, specs are very similar. 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S3 CPU. So keep in mind, this is the older Snapdragon. It's not the S4. It's the S3 CPU running in this device. Otherwise, 5.3-inch Super AMOLED HD display. I'm going to change the screen timeout here. And you can really tell the difference. It's kind of frustrating that they didn't put the S4 in the T-Mobile version. The Note isn't a new device by any means. It was announced last year, actually, at IFA in Berlin. So it's almost a year old, and it's packing an old processor as a result, the S3. So you'd think maybe with it coming to T-Mobile, they'd add the S4 processor. Not the case, though. It's still repping the specs that the AT&T version has. 5.3-inch Super AMOLED HD display, 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording. It does have Wi-Fi calling and near-field communication, also known as NFC, and it does have HSPA Plus 42 megabits per second capability. So it doesn't have LTE, obviously, since T-Mobile hasn't formally rolled out LTE just yet, but it does have LTE as indicated by the 4G indicator right up there, by the time, by the battery, and by the battery percentage, which I absolutely love. So the difference here, it does roll out with Android 4.0, still has the same TouchWiz version 4 pre-installed, but you'll see some changes as a result of it having Ice Cream Sandwich. Out of the gate, you're going to see 411 and more, Access T-Mobile, bobsled messaging, the Google stuff that's typical, Gmail, Google Plus integration, Google Plus Messenger. You've got Lookout Security, you have Samsung's Media Hub, you have Music Hub, Mobile Hotspot on T-Mobile, T-Mobile Mall, T-Mobile Name ID, T-Mobile TV, visual voicemail, Zenio, and that's about it. Now, it looks like you can't uninstall the T-Mobile stuff, so if you don't want it, you're probably out of luck. But again, with Ice Cream Sandwich pre-installed, you'll notice the difference in the menu structure. Another thing I noticed about this device after working with the AT&T one, let's see what we've got downloaded here. Yeah, it looks like all the T-Mobile stuff is on there and on there to stay. I can disable it, and I can force stop it, and I can get rid of Access T-Mobile, for example. I can disable that, so when I go back into the menu, you'll notice that it's no longer there in the actual applications list, but you can't uninstall those, unfortunately. The other thing that I noticed, what I was going to say about working with the T-Mobile one, a couple of differences here. The AT&T one rolled out with Android 2.3, so my review units were upgraded to Android 4.0. This one rolled out with Android 4.0. I'm noticing a little bit of a speed difference on this one versus the AT&T Samsung Galaxy Note. Granted, that could be one of a million things. The AT&T one, maybe the build of software wasn't quite up to perfection. Maybe the way it installed on my individual device wasn't the best. But I do notice a little bit of a speed bump, apples to apples, between AT&T's version and T-Mobile's version, with Android 4.0 being pre-installed out of the gate as opposed to it being installed at a later date. I did not mean for that to rhyme, but it does rhyme. I got the rhymes, yo. But that's something I noticed right out of the box. Otherwise, Very similar look and feel here. 5.3 inch display means it's going to be a little bit hard for a lot of people to hold in the hand, but you do have some easy stuff here. Messaging, for example. Forgive me while I pull this away so I can access this one, for example. We'll take a look at some of the keyboards that come pre-installed. Now, because it is Android 4.0, you get the ongoing notification up here that your keyboard is running as opposed to pressing and holding and selecting your input method. You have swipe as an option. You have the Samsung keyboard, and you notice the differences there. We'll go back to them in just a second. How are you doing today? And you can use swipe if you see fit. And then you can go back to the Samsung keyboard, and because of the size of the display, it has 4 rows, 3 rows of which are letters, 1 row of which is numbers, and then an additional row at the bottom with your spacebar, your commonly used symbols, your ability to switch over to text. So I can say, hey, for example, and I can use the nifty S Pen, which comes pre-installed in the device if I wanted to. Hey there, how are you doing? I can use the spacebar up here as I see fit and go back to the keyboard pretty quickly and pretty easily. 5.3 inch display, very easy to type on. You should have no trouble if you're moving from, let's say, a BlackBerry, a Droid Pro, something with an on-screen, or a physical rather, QWERTY keyboard, over to this. Transition effects seem to be reasonably fast, although I will say comparing this to a device with an S4 processor, the Galaxy S3, the One X, the One S, etc., there is a speed difference that's noticeable on this device. Otherwise, the difference you'll notice from the AT&T version, wallpapers are slightly different. If you're like me, you're a stickler for all those little things that are different from device to device, from carrier to carrier. The wallpapers are slightly different. You got a nice beach scene here. You have this new one, kind of stamp screen, I should say. Your grass, you've got this nice one, which I have set, and then, of course, that one's a familiar one. And then you have the one at the very end, typical Samsung there, and then this one is new. So you get a couple of new wallpaper options, which, hey, if you're like me, when you get a device that's pretty similar, that's kind of exciting. Get some wallpaper options, something that's a little bit different. You can access the web as well, and we'll load up on HSPA Plus connectivity. I just want to show you PhoneDog really quickly and what it looks like on the display. And again, as a result of Ice Cream Sandwich being pre-installed out of the gate, you can see some of the differences to the browser. You'll see that up top it's a gray bar now where the URL sits, and you've got this little 2 option here to show you that I've got 2 windows that are open. I can click that with my finger or with the S Pen and access the windows that are open and scroll back and forth and see a preview of where I left off. And so here's the page, and I will say T-Mobile's HSPA Plus, 42 megabits per second, nice and fast in the Charlotte metro area. For the most part, I've been really pleased with it. Pinch to zoom is great in the browser, and we'll load a speed test just so you can see what it looks like. I'll show you some speed tests that I was running today, and I've been running several speed tests, and these are just the ones that I got today since I've reset it. So I've been pretty impressed for the most part. 8 to 10 megabits per second for HSPA Plus. Connectivity is pretty decent, and we'll run one right now, although I will say it's getting close to rush hour time in Charlotte, so the speeds may be a little bit slower than usual, but for the most part I see speeds between 8 and about 14 megabits per second, depending on where I'm at in the city. So you can see it's kicking up now. Let's see if we can get it over to 10. So I guess kicking over to 10, 11, so about 11.5 megabits per second, great for HSPA Plus. And then on the upload, about 1 to 2 megabits per second is what I've been seeing for today. So again, been working with it for a while. The thing that I've noticed, again, about the software, a little bit different, a little bit faster as a result of it being pre-installed. That's my assumption, at least. The fact that it's pre-installed made it a little bit faster as opposed to a software update. I have been very impressed overall, this one in comparison to the AT&T version, I should say, as to how fast it's been. Quadrant Standard been pretty reasonable in this department as well. As you can see, 3,520 based on the test that I ran a little bit earlier. Been pretty impressed with that. That's nowhere near in comparison to the S4 based stuff, the One X, the One S, the Galaxy S3. I get anywhere from 4,500 all the way up to about 5,900 on average between those. That said, 3,520 is definitely a respectable number. I also want to point this out. This is something new that comes with the Galaxy Note as a result of Android 4.0. It's Samsung's premium suite of applications. So take a look here at the S Note, for example, and you got a bunch of different options. And I covered this in the Android 4.0 update for the AT&T Note, but I want to show you this again because these are some things that I'm really impressed with. You've got the Note option, but you have some new Note options here. So you'll see I can do my usual, my typing, or my writing rather, but I have a couple of different options over here. I can go to Formula Match, for example, and I can say 5 plus 5 times 6, and we can have that calculate, and I can search for the answer, or I can insert it as an actual equation. Other options, I can do handwriting to text. This is always a really useful one. You put, hey there, how are you? And you got a bunch of different options there that you can translate that over into text. And I have not switched this over into left-handed mode. I am a lefty, So that could be part of the issue there as well. Knowledge search is pretty useful. I'm going to turn this to the side so I can actually type how old is Steve, or well, Steve Jobs is dead, but let's find how old is Bill Gates. And I can search for that, and it'll bring up Wolfram Alpha, and it'll tell me how old Bill Gates is. So pretty useful there as well. Another one that I absolutely love, the shape match option. So it can make perfect shapes as opposed to my terrible shapes. This is particularly fantastic when you're procrastinating before a meeting and you want to make funny faces and things like that when you're really supposed to be working. I find this application to be incredibly fun for stuff like that. But again, you'll notice that it makes my shapes a little bit better. So if I'm in a class, I'm taking notes, I'm in a meeting, I'm doing something, I'm doing like a flow chart or something, or I'm doing some sort of circle chart, I've got the option to add circles, squares, rectangles, and more, and make them a little bit nicer looking, as you can see there. And actually one of my favorite options to do is this. We'll erase so you can take a look here. I enjoy making this one. Had fun with this one the other day, trying to make that old school thing like we used to do in school. Reconnected it. There we go. Bam, 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 bam. And that's just kind of fun to do. So you've got a bunch of different options. This is intended to be a productivity device. They do a good job there. It's part of the Note series, which actually the Note 10.1 was announced today, the tablet. And so it's part of a series of devices that are intended to increase productivity and make it easier to take notes and more. Is it conventional in terms of size? Maybe, maybe not. It may be perfect for you because you have big hands. It may be too big for you because you have small hands. But one thing's for sure, choice is always a good option. And up until now, you could only get this device on AT&T. Now you can get it on T-Mobile. Would I buy it? Well, on AT&T, yeah, I would have, because it came out at a good time, came out and it was new to the market. Now, with the Galaxy Note 2 most likely on the horizon, I have a feeling that's what Samsung's going to announce in Berlin. With it most likely on the horizon, this could be a tough call for a lot of people. That said, we don't know how long it's going to take from the announcement to when it actually lands in the States. For all we know, this could be announced in Berlin and not be released in the States until January at CES, or announced in the US version until CES. So it could be a perfect buy for you. One thing's for sure though, older processor, it does have HSPA Plus connectivity and Ice Cream Sandwich, so at least it's new on some fronts. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with the Samsung Galaxy Note on T-Mobile. Keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Hit us up. We're always cool people. We're always talking about cool things too and asking cool questions. We're just cool all around, so hit us up. Facebook.com/PhoneDog. Be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, PhoneDog_Aaron. And I didn't want to have all those numbers come up. I had some texts I was sending from a personal number, so forgive me for that. Follow me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron, Facebook, Facebook.com/PhoneDogAB, and let me know what you think of this device. Are you holding out for another Samsung device, maybe another HTC device, or maybe you're holding out for the iPhone 5? Let me know. PhoneDog_Aaron on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more, including dogfights on PhoneDog.com. We'll see you next time.